Hi! For those who didn't know, I really like Celeste. It's a really cool platformer with simple controls that can really quickly devolve into insanity. This insanity is fueled by the community that creates mods because apparently the base game is not difficult enough for them. And that's exactly what we're doing today, playing a mod. More specifically, Strawberry Jam, which is what we call a collab, a grouping of a lot of maps into one giant mod. These maps are divided into groups or lobbies by difficulty. In each of these lobbies, there's what is called the Heartside, a really long and complicated level that features bits of gameplay from each of the maps in the lobby. Our Heartside features tougher gameplay than the lobby it is in. It's usually regarded as a transition from one lobby to the next. So I'm gonna be playing the Heartside of the Beginner Lobby today. So before you click off because it says Beginner, here's the twist. I'll be playing through the entire map without dying once, which is obviously considerably harder than playing through the map normally. This requires really high consistency, as one mistake and I have to restart as I only have 1 HP. This is not the hardest run I've done, but this is my first somewhat big deathless challenge outside of the main game. But really quickly, if any of that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing. I make technical Minecraft and sometimes Celeste videos. This run starts out with a really stupid death, which is kinda cool. I guess they happen all the time and I'm not always recording. But I'm gonna start a new run, and at the bottom of the screen you can see a bunch of white bars. They show historically how much I've died in each and every room. This is part of a mod that I use to, well, track my progress. It's called Consistency Tracker. They're really useful to know which rooms I need to work on. So each bar represents a room and we're going to go from left to right. This part is a little annoying. You have to wait for this kind of elevator to do its thing. It's kind of annoying because it's at the start of the run, so you have to wait for this every single try basically. Now in this room, all of a sudden you have 2 air dashes. So as I mentioned, this Heartside is a recollection of a little bit of every map we've seen in this lobby. And so basically for every room, the rules are going to change. There's going to be new mechanics like these green blocks. The style changes a lot as well, and it's done to mimic how the featured maps look like. And now we're headed into my favorite room. The map it's based on has a different style, but the gameplay is kind of the same. It's really fast-paced, dashing in dream blocks, which looks really fun. The original map happens in the sky. It's much darker. There's wind pushing you around. Here you're also getting pushed around, but the background makes it look like it's a water current. This room is a resting point. When playing through the map, normally you'd be able to save and quit, do something else, touch grass, then come back here. But here I can't do that. I have to do the entire chapter at once to collect the golden strawberry behind me. As you'll have noticed by now, this room is entirely black. I need to wait for dialogue to tell me what to do, but I don't have time for that. I've done the map so many times, I basically memorized all the inputs I need to do. Here you see me dash into a corner and then dash again. This is to set me up basically on the perfect pixel. I didn't use that many setups like these in the run because I didn't really need to. The gameplay is not as demanding. But here a few runs died because I jumped in the wrong way basically, so I used this setup to guarantee I landed the perfect way every single time. Coming up is my least favorite part of the run. I'm not sure if this is like a Celeste remake of the gameplay of another game. Honestly, I can't even be bothered checking this. Oh my goodness, how trash is this gameplay? Who came up with this? Of course, it's just my opinion, but the controls upside down are confusing, the spikes are annoying, the visuals are just absolutely disgusting. Like, what is this? Here's another checkpoint room with basically no difficult gameplay, but can we just appreciate the work behind this collab? Like, the decoration just looks so nice. Also, yes, Madeline can phase through walls, because yes. I don't know what it is with bees and Strawberry Jam, but there seems to be a bee themed map in like every lobby. This is so funny. You see me go back and forth through all of these dream blocks, except for the last one. You don't need to go through it, and it just seems inconsistent to me, so I prefer to skip it. Here I went back into the previous room. I think that's because I inputted a dash and like I didn't want it anymore, so I went back to redirect it, which is why it looks weird. Like, obviously you don't need to go back to this room. Like, there's no cycles that I need to wait for or something. There's these like donuts that make you go up, but you can also dash or bubble into them to bounce back. And one of them I accidentally grab instead of dash into, so that kind of throws me off, but it's all good. So yep, clickbaited you. I did do one mistake in the run. It's not perfect. I'm far from it. I like to think of this room as the halfway point. When I pass it, I'm like officially in the good run. I need to lock in. But it's also a source of a lot of chokes. You can see on the tracker at the bottom, the bar is really high compared to the others, which means I died here a lot. I don't know if it's just skill issues or maybe I think the camera scrolling could be a little better when you go to the sides of the tower. Sometimes you don't really see where you're supposed to go, so you kind of guess and sometimes you're wrong. Obviously you can fix this with a lot more practice, but I guess I didn't really practice enough, did I? This room is taken from a puzzle map. You have new entities like these dash crystal shards. You have to get 3 of them to get back your dash. You don't really replenish your dash when you touch the floor again, so you have to be cautious about how you dash. There's also time stopping crystals. When you pick them up, they'll stop time. So you use this to collect all coins and then, I mean, you'll see at the end. If I don't freeze time, there's gates at the end that just block the path. Now this room is so inconsistent. Again, I think I didn't really practice it enough, but you have to juggle this strawberry, well, jam. There's some places in the room where you can go through and it cannot, and some places it can go through and you can't. So you have to juggle it, time your movement and your throws so that you catch it at the perfect time. In this room you use a giant flower to propel you upwards. And with all due respect, I kinda hate this gimmick. Even the texture looks bad. It's kinda jank to know how you're supposed to hold it. Like if you go at it too far to the side, you're not gonna be able to grab it. It's another jank mechanic. Also, this music slaps, so I'm gonna shut up for a bit. This last block pushes you to the right. You're supposed to ride it to the end, but sometimes I get a little impatient. I jump earlier. Because it still has some momentum, it pushes you actually farther. And sometimes I bang my head against the ceiling spikes. Now these next couple of rooms, you don't have a dash anymore. You're supposed to use these arrows that give you air jumps. And also while doing that, I try to not use too much stamina in case I mess up. I can use it to get back up. Oh, and by the way, some of these arrows replenish after some amount of time. So you can, if you're in a safe spot, wait a little bit till they regen and then reuse them again. But the next room prevents you from doing that. And for some reason, you can't even go back to the previous room. So if you're in a perfectly safe spot, you just have to manually reset because the room doesn't allow you to do backup strats. I don't know, it just seems a little unfair to me. If you're good enough to know of a backup strat, to control your nerves and be able to execute it, then you should be awarded the room. Here you see me pause a bit. This is the final stretch. I tell myself to stay calm. I don't want to mess up. In this room you have pipes. You saw them earlier with the jam pot thing. They behave similarly to dream blocks. You dash into them and then you follow the pipes basically. Here disaster strikes. I'm supposed to hit the switch once to clear up the path, but I accidentally dashed twice. So I stay calm, I think about my options, and I clear the path anyway. So this is why I think mappers should let players have a second chance. If they're good enough to figure out a different way to clear the room when they messed up, I think they deserve to clear it. And because these mistakes are unexpected, it makes for a cooler clear as well. This room is based on my favorite map in this lobby. I think it looks very cool. In a deathless challenge, however, it is somewhat scary because of habits. For example, in these bubbles, I usually dash, but if you do this too early, you end up dashing into the bubble. Usually it does nothing, but here you don't get your dash back when in bubbles, so that makes the rest of the room impossible. Basically what I mean is I have to fight my muscle memory and not mess up at the end of the run, while not overthinking things and also messing up. Final stretch, final decorative room, there's only 3 rooms left now. That's another puzzle room, you have to hit these cabins in very specific order, very specific directions to clear the path. And here's another instance of a design choice I don't really appreciate. You can't go back even though the path is fully cleared up. Maybe it's to prevent players from cheesing the room, I don't know, but if you mess up, again, you just have to restart. Even though you could, in vanilla, just re-enter the room and retry. These last 2 rooms are based fully on cycles, so the gameplay is not too hard, you just have to time things, figure out a pattern to get through them, and hopefully not fall out of rhythm. They're not victory laps though, you can still mess up. Here I take a slightly different route from what is intended. You're supposed to use the springs on the right. I used them at some point, I just changed my strat, I don't know why, it just looks funny. And when landing on this cassette, I know I've won. There's basically nothing left to kill me. The last screen is a simple landscape with really no threats. But to me it's another occasion to just reflect on how beautiful these maps look. I know I talk trash about some of them, but I know that it's just nitpicking on my part. I'm grateful for these to have input into this collab together. Overall, they fit together really well. As the run ends, I would like to thank you for 2,000 subscribers. I didn't really get the chance to say it until now. For example, my last video was really not a high quality one. I know I've been quite inactive in the past month, especially in the Minecraft side of things. I am working on quite a lot of projects at once, balancing school in the middle, but I guess you're used to that by now. All I can say is a lot is coming, it'll just take another couple of, say, months. If you like what you see, tell YouTube about it by subscribing or sharing this video with a friend. That's the easiest way to support me. Thanks and have a great rest of your day.